All right, welcome everyone to our learning series. I wanted to call this Lunch and Learn, but that would be me being untruthful because one, it's not lunchtime. And we're also not serving lunch. So I just call it learning series. Like I pick the lunch and learn, the learn part, and then I put like the series in it. All right, so this is how we're gonna go today. You can see I knew that we won't be able to start at 7, so I put at 7:05. So between 7:05 and 7:10, just 5 minutes, we're gonna do a little bit of meet and greet. I'm gonna introduce you to Stacey, and that's the company that's sort of like hosting this. After that, we'll move to the series objectives. Why are we doing this? What's driving this? What's the value in this? And then I also introduce our speaker or our facilitator for today. After that, we'll have a facilitator, Sedoten, who's going to take between 45 minutes to 1 hour to take us through the world of DevOps. And then we'll reserve about 15 minutes for Q&A, question and answer. And then I'll just typically wrap up. So let's start first by meeting Stacey and Lloyd. But before that, while I'm doing that, because I know a lot of people know Stacey and Lloyd, if you can just put in the chat where you're joining from, just to understand the diversity, the geographic dispersion of the audience, that would be cool. A lot of people know Stacey and Lloyd, but Stacey and Lloyd is really a transformation company, and I don't want to take a long time to introduce this. We have 3 practices, 3 lines of businesses, if you want to call that. The first one is the academy. So the academy is really a career transformation practice, not so much of an institute, it's a career transformation practice. We have consulting practice where we do a lot of business transformation, agile transformation, process transformation, and then we have the advisory practice. And what you see here are different.
This food will finish.
Are the different service offerings that we have. Hopefully, Chinyere, the food shouldn't finish before we finish the class. So we like agile transformation, process transformation, digital transformation, and all of that. We have an academy, and in the academy we have 4 schools: the Agile School, the Business Analysis School, the Project Management School, and then the Data School. And looking at the academy number, we supported a lot of professionals who become certified, to become better in their practice, and also to become generally better professionals. And this is just like looking at the number of people that we've supported across different certificates. So that's that about Stacey and Lloyd. And I want to very quickly, and she's going to take over, very quickly introduce our speaker and then the reason. So we have a community for SIFs and Masters Manager, for project managers and business analysts. And we want to continue to learn. We don't want the learning within the community to stop once we end the class. We want to continue to learn, we want to continue to improve ourselves. And I thought I may not even be the only person to take some of these programs. And in the last 1, 2, 3 months, I've been hearing, a lot of, most especially people who work within tech and Agile say, as a Scrum Master, what should I know about DevOps? I've seen a lot of DevOps, requirements and job openings. And I'm wondering, what exactly is this DevOps thing about? And thankfully, we have a DevOps engineer in our community who works with a company called Thinkwell Group. I hope that's the name of the company. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's bring him in to come and talk to us about DevOps from a practical practitioner standpoint. And she said, yes, she's going to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sedoten Olamide Elizabeth. I'm going to stop sharing. Please take over once you're ready.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, just
Hi.
hi, Toby. Let me just share my screen.
Oh, we got a lot of, UK folks, nice.
Okay, I guess everyone can see my screen. All right, we're starting. Drum roll. Okay, so today for our learning section, according to what Coach P said, we'll be looking into elevating agile principles from the DevOps angle, the DevOps advantage. And so let's go over shortly what we'll be doing today. So the first thing we'll just do a very short introduction, then we'll look into DevOps overview, and the key components of DevOps and Agile and DevOps together. DevOps is a mindset. I think that's more of a question. DevOps rules, the different DevOps rules we have. Then we'll look into the tools, then questions. Okay, and I'm sure I have questions at the beginning or in the middle. You can kindly, because I might not be able to see it, so maybe write it down somewhere or maybe drop it in the text so I won't forget. So won't forget to go over it at the end. Thank you. So yes, welcome again. And yeah, this is my real face. Don't mind the AI generated one previously. My name is Olamide Sedoten. Sedoten is not my last name, it's my name. It's Sedoten, and I'm a DevOps engineer, and the name of the company is Montreal. Said Montreal Thinkwall Group, and it's in Montreal. It's in Montreal, Canada. And one thing about me is I love automating and improving processes. And like I said, today we'll be sharing with you DevOps as relation to Agile. And yes, let's meet, let's connect. I'm on LinkedIn, and you can look for me. Is it Ando? Maybe I can call it Ando. It's Mide Ebenezer. So moving into it. So we have the DevOps overview. So I'm sure when some of us might have heard DevOps here and there, and when we hear the word DevOps or when we see anything called DevOps, you usually see this infinity shape everywhere. So when it talks about DevOps, this shape has to be there. Basically, what it's all about is just DevOps is just a set of principles and practices that actually help software development team to work more efficiently and effectively. So it basically brings together the development team and the operation team. So it automates many tasks that were previously done manually. And basically, it's actually a software practices that actually work faster, it's more reliable, and it's more secured. And we can see here that it's more or less encouraging the collaboration between the DevOps, the development team and the operation team. So previously, we have the development team that consists of developers and other people of the team. I also have operation team. Before, they don't really relate with each other. So the operation team don't know what's going on in the DevOps side, the development side, and development people or team don't know what's really going on in the operation, and usually confusion, question hacks. And that's basically what brought about DevOps, basically. So some of us might be familiar with software development lifecycle. So the first is always planning. So we plan documentation or whatever method we're using, whether waterfall or agile. So the next thing is code. So the developers, they write code. And when they write code, the code is being built. There are different tools that we'll be looking into later that are used. So we build the code, then we test it. And when it's approved, when the code quality is checked, then release it. And being released, there are different environments. There are testing environments, there are production environments. So when they are okay, then they are being deployed. So when they are deployed, then we have the operation team that are also working on it. Then we have monitoring. So sometimes when developers write code and they are done, it's like, oh, I'm done. My job is done. That's it. They don't really know what's going on with the code that was deployed. They don't really know much about the monitoring. They don't know about what's really going on. They just think their work is done when they're just writing code, that's it. So there's that kind of bridge that needs to be closed. So that's basically what brought about DevOps, basically. So like I said, in summary, it's just DevOps, basically, it's a culture that actually the aim is to enhance collaboration and communication between the software team, the operation team, and the development team. So, and the main purpose is to shorten the development lifecycle and provide continuous delivery with high software quality. Sorry, pardon me. Okay, so moving on. So basically, that's just like the main meaning or the main goal of DevOps itself. And one thing about DevOps is not something that can be learned in a day or two or even in 3 months, or it's even hard enough in 6 months. So we might not be able to like cover everything, but hopefully at the end of this section, we should be able to have at least the basic knowledge of what DevOps is and what's all about. So in case if someone mentioned it, or maybe we are hacks like, have you heard about DevOps or something like that? Like, oh yeah, I kind of have like a basic understanding of it. So that's what we're doing today. So moving on to the key components of DevOps. So we have continuous integration. So what do we mean by continuous integration? So it's actually the practice of automatically integrating code change from multiple contributors into a shared or a central repository to ensure that the latest code is always available. So for example, so let's say we are all working in a group project and it's like building puzzle with, all of us are all building puzzle, and each one of us, we actually have a piece of puzzle that we're working on. So instead of waiting for everyone to finish their part and put the puzzle together, we don't do that. So with continuous integration, we are always continuously checking in with other people that are done or with their puzzle. We'll put it together as they are finishing, we're putting it together. We're not waiting for everything to be complete, just like house. So let's say we have a project to build a whole house. So we don't wait for the whole house to be complete before we actually check to see if everything is working. So the plumbing job is done, the electricity is being provided, the furniture, everything is done and it's done continuously. So there's no stop, there's no breakage. So everything is done continuously. And basically with continuous integration, so as code and okay, moving on to the previous one. So as developer write the code, they don't have to wait for them to write the whole code. So a little chunk of it is being written, then it's built, then it's tested, then it moves, it flows like that. So moving on to continuous delivery. So with continuous delivery, it's automatically, it's basically automating processes for deploying validated code changes into production environments after passing through continuous integration and testing stage. For example, we have iPhone. I'm sure majority of us are using iPhone, right? Maybe. Yeah, so let's say our iPhone. So I'm sure we notice that maybe every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, we get a notification that, oh, update your phone, blah, 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 blah. So that's continuous delivery. So iPhone is not waiting for every single thing to be perfect, for every single features to be added to the phone before releasing it out. We are using it, but at the same time, they are working on it. Same thing with the app, with our bank app, with anything we're using. It's not 100% before they release it. They continuously work on it. They continuously release new updates. And it's a continuous work. So that's one thing about DevOps, and that's one thing it's encouraged. So moving on, we have infrastructure as a code. So infrastructure as a code is a practice of actually managing and provisioning computing infrastructure through machine learning scripts rather than physical hardware configuration or interactive configuration tools. So let's think about infrastructure as it's like servers, they are network, basically. So for any work to be done, we need to set up the infrastructure. It's like the architect, like it's like the foundation. So before we build house, we need to lay the foundation. Without the foundation, there's no house. Like there's no how it's not gonna stand. It's not gonna work. So that's exactly what we mean by infrastructure. So infrastructure as a code in the sense that instead of manually trying to like put in network together, like networking together manually, like setting up servers, it can be done as a code, meaning it can be automated basically. And it actually enhance versioning rollback in the sense that, let's say on our iPhone, we did an update and something is wrong with the updates. Let's say they release, I don't know, iOS update 16.100 and people are complaining about that. Oh, they can't use this feature. Something is wrong with the update. With infrastructure as a code, they can easily roll back to the previous version. Pending the time they solve it or pending the time when they do whatever they want to do, but they can easily roll back to the previous version. And with infrastructure as a code, can actually help with that. We'll be looking into the tools later towards the end. So next, we are looking into automation. I'm sure we are familiar with the word automation, which actually involves using technology to perform tasks with minimal human intervention, reduces manual efforts, and increases efficiency. So the use of automated processes for building and testing, deploying applications. So it reduces human error or manual error, and speed is enhanced for development cycle, which actually also encourage consistency as well. So like I said, we can also read it here that automation involves using technology to perform tasks with minimal human intervention, reduce manual effort, and increasing efficiency. So moving to the next one, we have monitoring. Monitoring is a very important aspect of DevOps. So it's observing and collecting data from various components of application or infrastructure to enhance performance, reliability, and availability. When application is being deployed or when anything is out there, we need to monitor it. We need to make sure that it's working well. We need to be able to use the monitoring is actually used to predict what can actually happen. It's for troubleshooting, to make sure that if there are bugs or if there are any issue, they'll be able to see it on time instead of having to just deploy application and that's not the end of it. We have to make sure that we keep on monitoring it. So those are like the key components. There are other components, but those are the key components of DevOps. Moving to the next one, we have Agile and Save. And I'm sure we have some of our Agile folks here. And can anyone actually share the key 4 important components of Agile, like the 4 pillars of Agile? Is anyone willing to help us out with that? Let's unmute our mic and let's talk.
Hi, everyone. I think the 4 pillars of Agile, it's individuals over interaction, interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, which has to do with being customer-centric, and responding to change over following a project plan.
Thank you so much, Desmond. You are getting a gift at the end. Ask Coach is going to give you that. Thank you so much. So yes, thank you, Desmond. And yes, so he actually did mention the 4 major pillars of Agile. So individual and interaction over processes and tools, working software and over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. I'm sure Coach P did justice to that for those of us in Agile class. I don't need to go over that anymore. So we actually understand that DevOps, I said DevOps, sorry, don't mind me. But you understand that Agile is an approach to project management and software development that actually focus on collaboration, customer feedback, rapid release, helping development team react and adapt to changing market condition and customer demand. So, and as we are actually listening to that, I can see that we can actually relate it to what DevOps is as well. Both practices actually enhance collaboration, customer value, continuous improvement, and iterative development. And looking over the two, I call it icon? Yeah, I can call it icon. So looking at the two icon of Agile and DevOps here, we can see that they both have the infinity kind of, I call it shape or so. They actually encourage, working continuously, not waiting to the end, working on iterative stages or plan, like doing the works in small chunks instead of waiting. So with DevOps, it's doing the same thing as well. It's focusing on collaboration, making sure that the development team and the operation team, they are working hand in hand. And they are focusing on customer value. They're focusing on collaboration. They are focusing on delivering application or delivering on time. So moving on, yeah, so like I said, we've gone over the similarities. So moving on, for those of us that actually were in safe class. Yes, safe class. I think we also went over the Scrum hour for DevOps as well, talking about the culture. The culture refers to the cultural shifts where development and operation team work together. That's the culture, that's the mindset that we should have. Automating the continuous delivery pipeline, goaling that reduce wastage and look for efficiency, measurement, foster learning and continuous improvement. And we have how the system should be able to recover fast from operational failure. Basically, then one question that I also have that I know some of us have in mind is like, why do most of Agile rules actually asking for DevOps? Like, why not developers, or why not QA, or why not full stack? Like, why DevOps? Thinking about the processes and what DevOps stand for, you can actually see that it's something that we can relate with Agile. They both stand for the same thing. They both stand for collaboration. They enhance collaboration, accelerating delivery. They both also worked on improving feedback as well. So those are things that they actually do have, in common. And yes, DevOps is a mindset. So the first time I actually saw this or heard this during safe class, I was like, literally, that was the expression on my face. Like, DevOps is a mindset. Like, how is DevOps a mindset? Like, in my head, I was thinking about the hours of me trying to complete my tasks, the overtime, all the nights that I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with my application, or what's wrong with my build, or what's wrong with my processing. I was like, DevOps is a mindset. I was kind of like, this is wrong. I was thinking about the thousands of tools out there, the thousands of work out there of a DevOps engineer, and I'm being told that DevOps is just a mindset. But thinking about it, when you're thinking about it more now, you can actually understand that we can actually say it as a mindset, because if you have the mindset of a DevOps, even if you are working in Agile or not, or you are working in DevOps or not, or anywhere you are, if you are working and you're having the DevOps mindset, I think it's something that can be applied as well in other places, not just IT, or not just, we are constantly improving. You are constantly you are collaborating with other people. You are constantly releasing application, waiting for everything to be complete before you're sharing your work. So they can see that it's actually a mindset. It says that collaboration is encouraged between the development and the operation team. That's for DevOps. But in Agile, it's over just the development team or the operation team, the IT team. It's way bigger than that in Agile. So basically, for when you're having DevOps mindset, you actually you take ownership, you take accountability. There's endless flow of value. There is relentless improvements. You are always improving. Even applications that have been released, you are always improving on it. There's quality and performance. There's lean and agile principle. We have customer centric. They're actually focusing on providing valuable products to customers, thinking about trust and collaboration. So basically, in summary, within the SAFE framework, DevOps is not just a set of practices or tools. It's actually the mindset that is embedded in a cultural shift that emphasizes on collaboration, on automation, on ownership, and continuous improvement. And adapting a DevOps mindset is actually very, very vital in achieving the goal of SAFE. Even SAFE said that itself, and enabling organizations to deliver value faster and enhance customer satisfaction and thrive in an ever-changing business environment. So moving to the next one. So we have DevOps roles. So I think DevOps word is it's like saying I'm a doctor. So like when someone is asked like, what are you, like, I'm a doctor, like there are different specialized, field out there. There are, dentists, there are other ones out there. So using the word DevOps is actually big. So there are different roles that are actually out there, and they actually what they do is all around DevOps itself. So we have build engineer. So just in case if you hear someone say I'm a build engineer out there, just know that their work is DevOps related. So we have build engineer, we have release engineer, we have DevSecOps, and DevSecOps actually focus on the security part of DevOps. So we have infrastructure engineer. So infrastructure engineer actually focusing on the architecture of an application. So it focuses on database, on server, on the network. So if you see the road like infrastructure engineer, so that's what the focus on. So we have cloud architecture. So for that, we'll go over that in the next slide. We have cloud providers, and some companies like to host their services on cloud. So for that, they need someone that specializes in cloud architect to be able to run that. So we have site reliability, we have solution architect, we have configuration. It's more of configuration, infrastructure. It's also related to infrastructure as a code as well. Platform is also infrastructure related. We have automation architect, whereas the build engineer and the release engineer have to do with the development aspect of DevOps. So basically when developer writes the code, when the code is written, so the test is done. When the test is done, when it passes code quality, it's built. So build engineer will be the one taking care of building the application, and for the release, it's more or less the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development. That's CI/CD. So the release engineer focuses on that aspect of DevOps. So moving on. Yes, so there are thousands of DevOps tools out there. There are a lot of them that I can't even remember, but the major one or the popular one, this one here, I might be wrong, but for the code development, developer writes code, basically they write code in their environment, and I'm not sure if anyone remember, but it has to be done in a shared kind of repository. So for that, we have about it's usually committed into maybe Git version control, which is we have GitHub, we have GitLab, we have thousands of them out there. Not thousands, but we have few. So then we have Jira. Jira is used for collaboration. I'm sure we're all familiar with Jira. So collaborating, working together, then Confluence as well. Then when it comes to build, I'm very familiar with Maven. So Maven is a tool that's actually used for building applications. So for testing, we have JUnit. I'm familiar with SonarQube. It's not here, but that's fine. There are a couple of them. And for releases, Jenkins is the major CI/CD tools that I've worked on. We have Courtship. Then we have for deployment, we have Docker, we have Containerd. It's not here. We have DS. So we also have AWS as well for deployment. For operation, we have Ansible, we have Kubernetes, we have Chef. For monitoring, we have a lot of them. We have Splunk, we have Datadog, we have Prometheus, we have Grafana. Those are actually, they are tools for monitoring application. So over now we have cloud computing. So when we talk about cloud computing, basically it's just hosting. So for example, our phone, majority of us, I don't want to say that, but I'm going to say it again. Majority of us are using iPhone, and if you remember, it's you have your pictures, your application saved on the cloud. So instead of, can have everything, so it's on the cloud. So same way we have companies that actually like to host their application on the cloud. So instead of having like a server, maybe have like a huge room that there are thousands of wires, network, there are thousands of computer, of network layers there. So some of them prefer to have them host on the cloud. And there are different things that are hosted. We have servers that have been hosted, storage, database, application, a lot of things are being hosted on the cloud. And we have public cloud, that's private cloud, and hybrid. So public cloud in using yeah, I will touch on that. Just give me a couple seconds, please. So for private cloud, we have the cloud providers. No, that's for the public cloud. We have the public providers, we have AWS, we have all those ones. For private is when a company have their own kind of infrastructure, when they are hosting they are provisioning their infrastructure. And we have hybrid where company decide to have some on the cloud and some in their private one. And one thing is for people that are hosting on they have their own private room where they host the application. It has its own advantages and disadvantages because you need backup. Even anything happens, like you need backup, all the servers or all the network is done. Another example is of Netflix now, like all the videos that we're watching from Netflix, it's hosted somewhere. Either it's hosted on the cloud or it's hosted, they have their own private cloud. So, and like I said, we have a couple of cloud providers out there. We have AWS, we have Azure, Microsoft, we have GCP by Google, we have Salesforce, we have Alibaba, we have Dell, we have a lot of them. They basically host your application for you. So depending on what you want to host, yes. So yeah, any question? So I can see that Desmond had a question. Let me just go over that first.
Yeah, I think you wanted to know how Jira is used for code, and I was just as I put the question in, I logged into our Jira and I wanted to just show him. If you look at your Jira board, your project board, you see different segments. You see planning, which is what we're mostly used to. But if you scroll down, you see development, and under development, you see code, and then you will see releases. And that's really what, how they've sort of like integrated Jira to the code. I think it's kind of like connected to like different repositories. But I'll allow Sedoten to just respond to that, and I can show you on my board.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Coach B. So for Jira and Confluence, so it's my own experience. So we actually don't really use it for code. So basically, it's always for collaboration and working together. But these days, there are other companies out there that they want to be using their platform as well. They want people to be using their platform to actually work together. I can maybe when I think about one later, but I know there are some that they don't have that, but they are trying to have that kind of space whereby their environment can also be used. The one that I'm very familiar with work is usually version control, basically. It has to be one that has space for version control. So like GitHub, like Bitbucket, like GitLab, those are actually what that are majorly used in order to have like a shared repository whereby when, you know, a developer can be in UK, another one can be in Hong Kong. So they can actually have a shared kind of repository whereby all their work are being shared. So not that I'm doing my own work and the next person in my team don't even know what I'm working on, can't even see it. So it's usually used to actually share the work that has been done. I'm not sure if I'm able to answer your question, but I'm not very familiar with using Jira and Confluent with code, but I'm very sure it's being used for collaboration and communication. Yeah, Salesforce. Yeah, Salesforce as well. I haven't used Salesforce before, but I'm familiar with AWS. I use AWS a lot. They actually even have serverless as well, where you don't even need to set any infrastructure. All you have to do is just have an account and you can have a whole company running on AWS service. So yes, AWS, I'm very familiar with that. Azure, I've used that as well. GCP a little, but yes, we have Salesforce as well. Definitely, it's not going to be free if it's going to be used. Yes, so I believe companies have to pay to enable using Jira or Confluence for code deployment. It's an add-on. Yes, I won't be surprised. Yes. Do you have any other question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, this is Tina. Happy New Year, Coach B. So
Hey.
I have yeah. So I have a question for you. You said that DevOps is a mindset, and the way you explain DevOps is almost the same thing with Agile, like Scrum and Safe. Can you tell me the major difference between DevOps and Agile? And I mean, let me say Scrum and Safe. Is it that in DevOps, you don't do releases or you do releases immediately? Like I know in Agile, if you want to do releases, we'll go through, all those criteria, the checklist. Is it that in DevOps, you don't do all of that? You just go and you just release, the release is automated. Just can you tell me the major difference between them? Thank you.
Sedoten, do you want to answer? Or do you want me to come in?
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
So yeah, so I did said DevOps is a mindset, but it's so thinking about it in a mindset kind of approach or the way we think or do approach to work. That's what I'm saying about DevOps is a mindset, but it's also a practices. So, and if in practices, like I said, it's actually focused on just the development team and the operation. That's just DevOps. That's the focus area of DevOps. Development and operation, making sure that they are collaborating, they are working together, they are delivering faster. But when it comes to Agile is not just focusing on DevOps alone or focusing on the development team or the operation team. It's looking at the team, like it's looking at the team like it's even more than the team. So with Agile, it's broader, it covers more, but it's DevOps just focused on just the little parts of the IT team or development team. Basically, just focus on just the developers, the development team, sorry, and the operation. And Coach B can also, share more light on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, remember when Sedoten was talking, the first slide that she showed, and she said DevOps means development and operation. Before DevOps, those guys used to own their own spaces separately. The development guys used to say, well, I am in development, and my overall objective is to churn in to deliver as many functionalities as I can. Once I do that, I am good. The operations guy wants stability. And all they're thinking about is stability. Now, if you understand the concept of mindset, it's a way of thinking, first of all. The way that you behave will come from the way that you think. Now they're saying, let's not get these two guys to be thinking differently. Let's get them together and let them think the same. Ultimately, is how are we delivering value to the end users? How are we delivering value to the customers? How are we balancing stability, which is what the operations guys want, and delivery, speed? I give you an example. It was a crazy example. I was on the phone with with someone from the bank, and they wanted to do something because I needed some help. And then the person that was answering me on the phone, who works in operation, was complaining bitterly. I was like, oh my goodness, these are IT guys, they've changed this thing again. Now I don't even know how to do it. Now this thing is so slow. I apologize. It's because of our IT guys. That is a bad mindset. That is not thinking in a collaborative way. Now, DevOps comes and says, let's start first with a way of thinking and a way of working. Let's bring these two guys plus any other person together. And then under each of them, we now have different technical practices. Let's not focus just on the technical practices alone. Let's focus first on how we want to work together, how we own everything. If there is a failure in any release, for example, we're not going to say it's the developers, or we're not going to say it's the development team. It's the entire organization. If we believe it's the entire organization, our thinking will be, how do we quickly address it? And that's what she was talking about when she said, if something fails, how do you quickly roll back? So it's first of all, a mindset before it becomes like a culture and a set of technical practices. And as to how this relates with Agile, it just enables delivery of value. You see, they say Agile is, some people say Agile is like a development method, but it doesn't end in development. What about releases? What about monitoring? What about operating? And that's really the component, or that's really the part where DevOps, comes in. I used to work in a financial service industry in Nigeria, and the project guys don't like the risk management guys, because the project guys will want to, okay, we want approval for our project so that we can release, and the risk management guys will say, okay, wait, when you're done, let's check this, check this, check this, check this, check this, check this, check this. But with DevOps and DevSecOps, it's like at the beginning, let's bring these security guys in. And let's understand what they want so that we can factor it in our development, so that we can release when the customers want it. And not the customers want it now, but risk management is saying, well, you have to reduce this, you have to do all of these things. So think about DevOps as something that supports Agile in value delivery. That's the way to think about it. It's like your computer and your RAM. All right. So I hope, Tina, I hope that answers your question plus what Sedoten has shared.
Yeah. That's I'm okay now. Thank you.
No
Good
worries.
job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dami has got a question. Dami is one person that will help every other person in the class to better learn because she always asks questions.
Sorry, Dami, just give me a minute. Kofo, what do you mean? What type of, are you talking about soft skills, or are you talking about, when you said skill sets required to be a DevOps engineer or solution architect?
Yeah, what I'm just trying to find out is what kind of capability do you need to have if you want to take on this kind of roles? Does that make sense?
Okay, I mean, if you are looking into getting into the role, right?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so for that, I mean, depending on, okay, you actually did mention solution architect. So there are different roles in DevOps, basically. So if you are looking into getting into, I'll probably say maybe, research on which aspect of DevOps you would like to take on, because saying I want to go to DevOps in Nigeria, it's even people that have like 10 years of experience, they are still struggling. Not to talk of like people like us that we are just still trying to like figure out our way around. So I'll say first of all, it's just gonna focus on like, if you want to focus on the on the build part, build and release, or you want to focus on infrastructure, or you want to focus on cloud, or maybe even if you want to focus on cloud, probably have to think about maybe you want to go and take a look into AWS, or you want to take a look into Azure or GCP. So those are something that you need to look into, or maybe you want to focus on deployment, like the operation part, when you probably have to be deploying and monitoring, probably you have to look into maybe Kubernetes, or for that, it's like, I'll probably say just kind of look into which aspect of DevOps. I think that will make things easier and faster instead of just going through the whole thing. So these days, I would probably suggest to just focus on an area in DevOps and just kill it and just master it, be the best in it, and just go for it. If I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dami. Dami. Hi, Coca.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Coach, for that brief introduction. I think I have two questions. So I think I understand the dev part in terms of the development team, but what is the operations team in DevOps? Who are they? Like who are they comprised of? Like what are the roles or roles or the roles that make up the ops team in the DevOps, if I'm making sense. That's my first question. And then my second question is, so I'm actively searching for Scrum Master positions right now. And I've had a few interviews, or I've come across few job descriptions for that role that require Azure DevOps skills, probably knowledge and skills. And I don't quite understand what exactly they are requesting for when I see that. Now I think I have my Azure DevOps is probably like a tool or software, right, for DevOps, if I'm making sense, like Jira. So maybe it's Azure DevOps is a collaboration tool. You can correct me. And so if you can just sort of summarize or expatiate on in the job market when these jobs are requiring Scrum Masters to have this Azure DevOps skill, what exactly high level are they asking for? Thank you.
Welcome. So for your first question, so for the operation team, so what they actually focus on is so the development focus on the early part, and the ops focus on after developing. So when it's already deploying it, and there are different type of environments. So there are testing environments. Maybe it's usually used maybe after building, you need to test before it's deployed into the environment. So basically for the operation, they actually focus on deploying into the environment and also monitoring it. So it's not just deployed. We have to make sure that it's being monitored. Everything is working the way it should. They have to focus. They focus on scalability, if they need to scale it, or if it's responding the way it should be, or if everything is working the way it should be. That's what operation really focuses on. Like the dev is just like the early part of when they are, write the code and making sure it looks good, but the operation is just a later part of the development of the software development. And for your second question, so Azure is a cloud service provider, like other ones, and it's more than just a collaborative tool. So you can actually start and end an application on Azure DevOps. So with Azure DevOps, you can commit your code, you can build it, you can test it, there is an artifact there where it can be stored, you can release it, you can monitor it, you can do everything on Azure DevOps. So it's not just a collaborative tool, but you can actually use it as your whole infrastructure to start and finish your work. So it has everything. Unlike AWS, with AWS, it's not like that. It's kind of, I don't want to use the word scatter, but they have different range of services. If one's platform as a service or software as a service. For AWS, if you just want to like host, an application there's a lot of work to be done. Okay, nowadays they actually have serverless there where you can, in short, for AWS, there are different tools in AWS itself. There are different applications in AWS itself that will be used, but compared to Azure DevOps, that it's just on Azure DevOps, you can start and finish everything. So that's why for people that are looking into like going into DevOps, they usually focus on, for people that especially want to focus on cloud, usually focus on Azure DevOps because it's easy. You can learn everything there. But on AWS, you have to learn EC2, that instance. You have to learn their monitoring. You have to learn serverless. They have about more than 300 applications in AWS. They are endless. But with two like Azure DevOps, you can have everything there. So it's kind of a little bit more straightforward when it comes to like the old DevOps thing on GCP, that's Azure, not GCP, on Azure DevOps compared to AWS. So am I able to answer your question, or do you still need more clarification?
Probably a little bit more clarification in terms of both questions. So in terms of the operations, right? For example, this is what I mean. So in the operations team, right, and the DevOps operations team would comprise of the testers, quality assurance. Is that it? So I'm talking about the roles, the functions of the people in the ops. Anybody understand what I'm saying? Can translate.
Okay, and so for the DevOps, so
That's just
the op. Yeah, so for the operation, so basically what they usually do is they deploy. So it's majorly for DevOps, it's majorly in DevOps itself. So it's usually for operations, usually deploying, like how after deploying, like how is it working, like the operation side of operation, the monetary part of it, and even deploying it itself. It's not just putting it out there. It's actually it's actually more work done than just building it, because it's out there. They still need to look into, is it working the way it's supposed to be working? Is there anything that is changing? So they have to monitor it. They have to deploy it. So I think that's what the ops majorly is for. It's just for, it focuses on deploying and monitoring.
Yeah, sorry, can I chip in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I believe her question is tailored like for developers, we have the front end guys, we have the back end, right? You can choose to learn that role and apply for a job as a front end, depending on what, tools you are using, you understand? Then also back end, so, C# and all those things. So I believe what she's asking is the operation, what skill do you need to go and learn so that you can get a job inside that operation space? So that's what I believe her question is, but I might be wrong. But
not the skills. I just want to know the title, position titles. Now, the developers, I recognize that the development team can be the UX, the designers, the coders, whatever. I don't know. It could be that, right? But the front end developers, as you've explained, but then the operations parties, I want to know what the job title. So, for example, okay,
I'm sorry.
Scrum Masters, part of the operations team. For example, is BA part of the operations team? I just want to have that clarification in my head.
Coach, sorry guys, my apologies. Can I take a stab at her questions, please?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Dami, I presume the titles you want to hear are probably the system administrators, the network engineers, the security engineer, the release manager, the database administrator rather, the infrastructure engineer. Those are the handful we have in my organizations under the ops side of DevOps. I stand to be corrected. Maybe Coach can shed more light on it. Then to your second question, as regards, my apologies, Coach. To your second question, as regards Scrum Masters having an added, what's it called? DevOps skills. You see, part of the recruitment processes to filter out Scrum Masters these days, most organizations would prefer to have a Scrum Master that comes into their organization that has a little bit of technical knowledge. Because I think Coach and so many other individuals, especially the beautiful lady teaching us the DevOps class, would agree with me that developers feel comfortable working with Scrum Masters with a little bit of technical knowledge. So organizations would prefer a Scrum Master that comes in to the organization, not just having an agile knowledge, but at least a little bit of technical knowledge. So you as a Scrum Master, you and I as a Scrum Master, for example, it will actually make it adding much value to what we will be bringing or our being recruitable by organization if we understand the processes associated with DevOps. We necessarily don't need to have hands-on knowledge concerning it, but if we understand the various terminology, like the awesome lady was stating, and how the process run, how codes are merged, how pull requests are made, and how releases are committed and all whatnot, that gives you an added advantage as a Scrum Master. And when you speak to a recruiter or let's say a product owner or a hiring manager that's somewhat technical, and another different Scrum Master that don't have any single knowledge about technicality, I get 9 out of 10 times that hiring manager will pick you. So in summary, just get a basic knowledge of it. It actually improves your chances of being employed. Thank you.
Kofo, so what am I saying, Kofo? Sorry, Dami. Okay, I think I kind of understand your question now. So you're talking about like maybe the roles, right? The roles in the operation that we can pinpoint on, right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Desmond. He actually did he answered my questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I'm just gonna set an example. So let's say so we are starting a project and we have an architect, solution or cloud architect that actually set up the environment. the environment is set up, then the developer, they write code. They don't write code inside the environment. The environment is set up. They write code, they check it, the developers write code or software engineer. Then we have the testing done. The testing done at the early stage is not even QA testing. It's code testing, not just QA testing or UAT testing, or not testing the functionality yet. Testing the code itself, if the code is bug-free, if there are different parameters that are usually set depending on the tools that I use, but I'm very familiar with SonarQube. So there are parameters that are set to check each line of the code. So that's like the testing that it's been done. Then they build it. Then do you build it, maybe then whatever tool they're using, build, test, then release. Then it's released into the environment. So the operation actually set up the environment. So they are all working together. It's just that the developers are just writing code. DevOps, you don't necessarily know how to code to be a DevOps engineer or to have any DevOps role. You're not a developer. You are a DevOps. As a DevOps engineer, it's good. Some actually likes people that can code. Like they will take someone that can code over someone that don't. So, but for DevOps engineer, you don't code. All I'm saying is that instead of just building it and that's it, they still need to monitor it. So for DevOps engineer, your process is, it's not saying because we have developers in the development part. For the operation, we have people that will actually be looking into the infrastructure. So we have the infrastructure engineer, we have the architecture that even did the job before, that started focusing on the network, the server, like the base of the work itself. The setup, the server, the networking, everything. Those ones are being worked on at the same time the code are being written or something like that. So it's not just focusing on like the code part alone. It's a continuous kind of thing. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying, but for the operation team, we have like infrastructure engineer that will actually continue to look at it. We have architect that will continue to look at the role. So basically just more focusing on deploying it, and after deploying it, you are monitoring it, and there's usually updates, like work is being done. Is there any issue with the previous version? Then we roll back. Is there any new thing that it's being done? So instead of just building and just leaving it, we still need to monitor it, and it's a continuous work. So it's not just saying just because the developer are just writing the code, and developers are not the only part of the development team. We also have like DevOps, we have even people in operation as well. It's a continuous work, the continuous cycle that's been done. So I'm not sure if I also answered your question as well.
Can you guys
sorry?
Erica's got her hand up. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I chime in? Sorry,
Yeah.
not to overwhelm you, Dami. I agree with everything Desmond said, and I think for the operations role you're specifically asking about, organizations do it differently. So it all depends on how they do their releases. So I've seen situations where it could be anybody, like he mentioned, a release manager can be a title somebody has, and you're pretty much just kind of organizing to make sure you have the entire team. Okay, we have a release on Monday. Who's going to be participating in the release? Who on the development team is going to make sure everything is deployed properly? Who, if there's a rollback that needs to be done? So it's like you're gathering your team. So like a team captain. So that's what operation is about, to make sure the end-to-end thing works perfectly. So it's not like you have to have a particular skill set, but it has to be someone who's part of that, the entire team.
Software team.
Yeah, you have so many people make up their team, the complete team. So it's just someone kind of facilitating to make sure we have like a roll call, who's here, who should we call if there's a problem with this one, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, when everything works out well, somebody in the operations team as well will take the lead to say, okay, everything worked out well, or if there's something failed, so that's what operations is in general. So it's not like you have to have a particular skill set. It's just that you have to kind of be part of that group or that team. If you're going to be part of the operation, you have to kind of know what is going on and know who makes up the whole group. And the second part of your question about DevOps, I believe you're referring to when they ask Scrum Masters if you know how to use Azure DevOps, which is a tool, which is like a Jira. Do you know how to use Jira? And there was a debate on LinkedIn last week or so, which I think I also chimed in. I don't know why people ask all those questions. You know how to use Jira, you know how to use, it's a tool. So you might not have used, I don't think there's anything wrong. If you have not used Azure DevOps before and you've used Jira, I don't think there's anything wrong in saying, I haven't used it before, but I've used Jira. If you can use one, you can learn to use the other one. You're writing user stories on there. You have product backlog items on there. You have your sprints on there. You have, you know, it's very, very similar. You just, again, it's like, again, like a phone too. You use an Android, you use an iPhone. I've never used an Android before. I've used an iPhone. It takes some getting used to. So that's how I would answer the question if they ask me if I've never used the tool before. I haven't used it, but it's similar to XYZ that I've used before. I'm not sure if that clarifies your Azure DevOps question specifically.
It does. Thank you so much, Fu. Is it Fuwa speaking?
Yeah, Toroko.
Thank you, Toroko. Thank you so much.
And you have your, is that a question? You have your end. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was, yeah, I'm just gonna, wrap it up and say, just as Taraka said, again, at times when they say Azure DevOps, I think someone mentioned, there are so many things that you can do. When they're speaking specifically to you as a Scrum Master, they're probably asking for the broad part of Azure DevOps, like Azure DevOps board, like ADO board, something like that. That's actually what you use to have a backlog, to create your sprint, to do all of those things. And if you think about it, all the Agile tools, all of them use the same Agile principle to design their tool. Whether you're using Azure DevOps Board, whether you're using Jira, whether you're using Rally, whether you're using PlanView, there must be a board. There must be a backlog. There must be a place where you can click to add issues to the backlog. In each issue, depending on the type of board that you're using, there must be description. There must be assignee. There must be all of those typical things that you find. There must be a place where you can plan your work iteratively, like sprint. When you say start a sprint, there must be a start date and an end date because a sprint is time-boxed. And your sprint board, because everything will go through like a workflow. There must be, moving from one workflow, from one status to another. Whether it's Jira, whether it's, this is historically said, if you used Jira before, you can use Trello, you can use Smartsheet, you can use Asana, you can use Azure DevOps Board, and I usually say learn one and then the other becomes pretty easy. Now to the second question, some of the ops teams may even arrange themselves in teams, and they may have, some of them may have like maybe a coach. They may not necessarily be using Scrum. They may be using like Kanban, and they may need like a team coach, irrespective of what's it called, the function that they perform. Okay, excuse me. Are there affordable DevOps certification linked to learn a bit more? Yeah, I don't know. I will Sedoten.
Yes, there are a lot of there are a couple of certifications. So yeah, there are a couple of certifications out there, but depending on there are some certification that like Coach B for Agile Immersion program, he gives certification after the program. So there are some boot camp like that, they actually give certification. But compared to certification given by AWS or by Azure, those ones are they are more recognized. So there are several tutorials about DevOps on Udemy, there are different ones like that, but compared to having like a solution architect certification from AWS or DevOps related certification from GCP or from Google, from Microsoft, from from AWS, those ones are more recognized than the one from Bootcamp or the one from maybe Simply Learn or the one from Udemy. Udemy doesn't give certificate, but yes, there are some ones out there, but I'll probably suggest focus on those ones that are like based on like from cloud providers. They are more like AWS. You can search for, they have different certification out there for people that want to, step into that platform, basically. If that answers your question.
Right. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? So it looks like we don't have any other questions. I want to say a very thank you to Sedoten. Thank you so much. I know this was supposed to be just for the AIP guys, but we decided let's just open it up. Yeah, let's just open it up and let other people be able to participate. So thank you for giving this session. I appreciate you, Sedoten. I'm gonna take as I wrap up, I'm gonna take this screen share back, and I'll just 1-2 minutes. I'll just share with you few things. So I'm just say it's a plug, and I think it's fine. First of all, I think you should connect with me. Connect with us. Connect with Stacy and Lloyd on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on at times I don't know if it's X or Twitter. On Twitter, that probably tells you how old I am. And then there's something that we're working on, SixDots. We're going to be unveiling it very soon. You can just search on Instagram and LinkedIn and X and try and connect with us. Last thing, I have 1 or 2 programs that are coming up. Just putting this out there. If you're interested, so for example, I have a CBAC bootcamp that's coming up. Starting on the 16th of January out to 24th. If you're interested, you can just visit that link and sign up. I have a PMP as well that's coming up starting on the 15th of January to the 23rd of February, and you can visit that. And for those who are interested in product ownership or product management function from a skilled agile standpoint, I have a safe 6 POPM training and certification that's going to start on the 15th as well. But this is going to be between 12 and 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're interested, you can just get in there and sign up, and I look forward to having you in class. And I think that is the end of this session. Again, thank you so much, Sedoten, for coming around. Yeah, so the safe is in the afternoon, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So it's kind of afternoon-ish, not in the evening. PMP is see that in the evening. And it's a wrap. Yeah, it's a wrap. This. All right, thank you, everyone. I think I had Sedoten, you have your hand up.
Yes. We promised Desmond a gift.
Oh yeah, so connect with Sedoten on LinkedIn and gift. This year, I'm not doing for anybody.
Coach, I'm just meeting you for the first time, but you're an amazing guy, and thank you so much, Sedoten, for the session. Thank you, everyone. However, Coach, I no go agree for you. I'm coming to your house. I'll Google your house address.
Yeah, they said this year no degree for anybody. So I'm not agreeing with Sedoten, you're not agreeing with me. At the end, nobody degree for anybody, and then we all live happily ever after.
Thank you, everyone. I had a great time tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
And
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.